And as folks are coming in, I would love if you would drop your name, your pronouns, where you're calling in from, and the native lands that you're inhabiting. Once again, I'm Ketis and I'm calling in from Oakland. Okay, Sunrise Ithaca, Charlotte, I see you. I feel like that's the appropriate amount of exclamation points for opening up the chat. Okay, Bryce from Sarasota, Florida. Love to see it. One last name, Claypool. Never seen that before. Josh from Sunrise, UMass, and a member from Boston. Okay, they're starting to roll in. I can't keep up. Hi, Tori from Maryland. DMV in the house. Okay, Marge from Oakland, I see you. Are you in the Bay Area hub? Join us. We'd be excited to have you. Sunrise, Rio Grande Valley, always a good time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've just joined, please put your name, your pronouns, where you're calling in from, and the indigenous lands you might be inhabiting. Excited to see that number going up and up. Hi, Lincoln from Boston. Hi, Jared. All right, still coming in. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Alex. Hi, Ava. Okay, I'm seeing some of the folks that might be at watch parties across the country hopping in. That's fun. Okay. The number of people is going to keep climbing, but I'm going to get us going because we've got a jam-packed conversation tonight to learn about how to end oligarchy and save our futures. Just to state again, my name is Kita Skirma. I use he, him pronouns. I'm in this fight because I'm originally from Ethiopia and I want to see my home healthy, alive, and popping off. And I'm Sunrise's campaign director. And I also happen to be your MC tonight. So far, we've got a couple hundred people on this call from across the country and more joining us. And I just want to welcome all the folks who are watching from their bedrooms or watching from watch parties across the country. And I want to invite you into doing one quick small activity with us. In the chat, you're going to see a link dropped where you can upload a photo of wherever you might be right now. So if you had a watch party, if you've got someone with like really long limbs, capture that image of everyone who's in there. And if you're, hanging out on your couch or on your bed or on your stoop, would also love to see your pic. And so yeah, just take a quick moment to click that link and upload a pic. And maybe at the end of this whole thing, we'll see all the folks across the country who are in it with us to win big. All righty. As you know, Sunrise is launching a campaign to take on big oil and fight to win the country and world we all deserve. Big oil has blood on its hands. The blood of thousands every year who die from polluted air, water, and soil, and of the millions more to come if we don't turn the clock back on the climate crisis. They also have Trump's violent authoritarian crackdown on their hands. The government loyalty tests, the escalation of ICE's role as a secret police, and even the deployment of the military against protesters in Los Angeles. They're backing authoritarian regimes like his because they know forces the only way their dying business model can stay on top is by getting his support. This campaign, Make Polluters Pay, is about crushing their power so we can win the world of our dreams. Now, those are a lot of big words, and I love big words, but I also really love key choice quotes. And I want to open with this quote from Adrienne Marie Brown that I truly love. And it goes, I believe that all organizing is science fiction, that we're shaping the future we long for and have not yet experienced. I believe that we are in an imagination battle. Now, I'm curious if you believe that you're in an imagination battle, and I want us to do a little bit of imagining across all the folks on this call. So for me, I dream of a future where everyone has guaranteed jobs, safe homes, secure food, and quality education. And I would love if in the chat you just dropped what you dream of. Let me see them. Let me see them. Okay, seeing universal health care, big fan. Big fan, great concept. A free Palestine, Ivy, love to see it. A world free from genocide and war. Good for all, community solar. I love a clean ocean. Let me get some of that. Having purpose. I love the conception. Yeah, I love a little purpose. renewable energy, an end of nuclear power, a free Palestine, and bending the curve of the planetary emissions in time that we need. Gardens for all. I love me a little garden. And so many more beautiful, fantastic, great things. I know that we're facing two very different futures, a future of the dreams that we've listed in the chat, as well as the future that we're currently facing in our day-to-day and present. And as good as hope is, I also know that I need so much more than hope. And so moving us to my second favorite quote of the night, "Fuck hope, where's the strategy?" from Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson. I love me a little dream. It's a good vibe, and I need the plans. And I'm excited to be on this call to get in those plans with you. And so beyond hope, we've got plans. And so on this call, we're going to talk about the campaign that Sunrise is launching right now, today, and talking about our 4-year strategy to 2029 to grow our generation's power so we can disrupt business as usual to stop fascism and overhaul our political system. But time is pressing, and so I'm gonna get us moving into our agenda for our hour together. Right now we're in the opening. There's a little checkbox because we just did it. I hope you're feeling opened. We're gonna next move to talking about the case for non-cooperation, why we need mass strikes. From there, we're gonna chat about make polluters pay and our campaign to make big oil pay the bucks. And then from there, we're going to talk about lessons from the ground, organizers who've run campaigns like this or responded to major disasters like the LA fires. And finally, we'll close with a call to action on how you can get involved and make the damn thing happen. And throughout this call, we'll have speakers like Representative Rokana and others hopping in to talk about their role and our role together to win the future we all deserve. So with no further ado, I want to hand it off to Aru Shiny Ajay, our executive director, to get us into it.
Hey y'all, my name's Aru. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the executive director of Sunrise. I am calling into this from our Twin Cities watch party. So if you guys can't hear me at any point because it's too loud, just say something in the chat and I will figure something out. And it seems like people can hear me right now. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're actually going to do to get these people out of power. So like Kita said, we're up against some of the most powerful people in the world. Can you pop in the chat? Who are these people on this slide? Oh my God, wait, someone's in the Twin Cities. Come down to the Black Heart and join our watch party. I'm so serious. Get on the train. Okay, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, yes, these are the billionaires who are driving us towards catastrophe and fascism right now. They have decided that their bottom line is more important than our futures or our democracy, and they're selling us all out. But we have one advantage over them, and that's because there's many more of us than there are of them. It really is that simple. We're really often taught that society just gets run by the people at the top, but the truth is society runs on all of our backs. I really like this slide right here because it illustrates this so clearly. This system depends on our cooperation to function. Oligarchy depends on our obedience. If students walk out of class, if workers walk off the job, if government workers don't cooperate with Trump, the system really quickly grinds to the halt. And that's at the core of everything we're going to be talking about today. Throughout history, this is how working people across race, across religion, across borders have transformed their countries, have brought down authoritarians and oligarchs, and have won transformative change. That has to be the playbook of the moment we are in right now, because I know that looking at what's around us, looking at the fact that legislators are getting shot and arrested, looking at the ways that families are getting separated, nothing short of non-cooperation across all of our society is going to meet the scale of crisis that we are in. And young people have done this before. In Serbia, this is an example that's very inspiring to me. In Serbia, students built this massive civil resistance and built this broad coalition to oppose a brutal dictator and restore democracy. They use these creative, like funny, nonviolent direct actions to like make sure that people broke out of their pattern of like fear and felt able to actually oppose the dictator that they were under, Milosevic, and they got huge swaths of the public, from like businesses to union workers to even the police, to start refusing to actually cooperate with the dictator. And when did that? They forced the dictator to hold an election. And when he lost the election and refused to step down, they swarmed the Capitol and forced him to. That was the power of mass nonviolent social movements. That was the power of mass non-cooperation. That's the type of vision that we need to be arcing towards if we are going to remake our political system to one that can actually stop the climate crisis. So that was one example, but I want to see from you all, what are examples that you've seen either in history or maybe right now of like small or big acts of non-cooperation, fighting back against oligarchs and authoritarians? I'm seeing South Korea. Yes, somebody in the chat put a little bit more detail about what happened in South Korea last year. There was a coup attempt. Yeah, the No Kings protest, LA fighting ICE, Spanish communes, Black Panthers, free community breakfast programs, the Yemeni solidarity with Palestine. Amazing. I'm seeing these in. And I think this is really important because it's really often not how we talk about history. We get taught that history just happens. We are agents of history. We get to choose the direction that this actually happens in, and we have that responsibility and that honor in this moment. And here's another example that we've been seeing more recently, the Tesla takedowns right here in the US. So our goal right now is to build youth muscle to use the same power of disruption and non-cooperation to stop authoritarianism, to overhaul our political system, and to win a Green New Deal. We're building up to the spring of 2028 when the United Auto Workers and other unions are aligning the expirations of their contracts. And that, combined with student action, could be the most impactful wave of action from working people in literally generations in this country. And we intend to make sure millions of students are ready to join workers in demanding an overhaul of our political and economic system so it finally works for everyday people. So I want to ask you all to pledge to join us and our allies across the country to disrupt business as usual and demand the country and world we all need. So I'm going to drop our first ever dropping of our strike card. Actually, I'm not going to drop it. Somebody else is going to drop it. And I want to see if we can get everyone on this call to fill out the strike card and send it to your friends, because we're launching this right now. And if we are serious about winning the world we deserve, if we're serious about stopping authoritarians, if we're serious about stopping the climate crisis, we need to be ready for mass direct action. And once you fill it out, post it on your social media, send it to your group chats, do whatever you need to do to get as many people you want on it. What is the advantage of signing this form? This is a form that's about measuring the amount of power that we actually have to strike. So it's about signing up, saying that you're committed to something, getting other people to commit it. It's a way that we build power in our movement. And I'm going to pass it to Stacey Davis Gates, the president of the Chicago Teachers Union and a model for the type of way that we can use worker power to win big things. Stacey Davis Gates, President Davis Gates, it's an honor to have you here. I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here with you all. Listen, typically the way in which strikes are talked about demean, marginalize, and belittle the power of them. So what I need to do as a high school history teacher that happens to be the president of the Chicago Teachers Union is provide the history lesson of how the general strike gave us these United States of America. In fact, it was my ancestors who were not even yet Americans who believed in the promise of the Declaration of Independence, the promise of the Constitution that had not yet even been amended to include them. The work that they did to leave the plantation broke the back of the Confederacy. It created an opportunity for the enslaved Africans to express their solidarity and liberation with their other brethren north of the Mason-Dixon. And what that did was create what we have now. And beyond what we have now in terms of the United States of America is that it begets a reconstruction of America. So when people tell you that they don't want to fight for the thing that we already have, what they're telling you is that they want to fight for the thing that we do not have already. And it is a concept that you fight for the thing. So you leave the plantation, you go on strike, you create the opportunity to have another America. And then in the reconstruction of this America, you see people and their needs first. Reconstruction created the safety net. It created public education. It created public health. It gave us the Department of Justice. It gave us the basis under which we have created the equity that is being relitigated, quite frankly, by this administration. So what I would say is that there is power in workers understanding that they can create the patriotic platform under which we can create the America that we all deserve. Number two, that in the disruption, there is always an opportunity to expand and to include more, because formerly enslaved Africans weren't the only ones who benefited from a public education. Lower income white folks got the benefit of that as well. Women received the benefit of that as well. Americans as a whole benefit when healthcare is available for all. You see the threads and the continuous struggle for the things that we need. So I would submit to you that what we have to do is create the opportunity for workers to raise their voices, to behave in solidarity, and to do the courageous thing. But you don't name it as disruption. You name it as patriotism. You name it as a thing that we need in this moment. And you don't just stop at the disruption. You create the coalition in which you build, create, reconstruct the America that is necessary. And then you use all the tools in your box. As a union, we have used our collective bargaining agreement to create common good. And common good means that our queer members and our queer students have space in our collective bargaining agreement. And that space is for safety, understanding, support, and resources. It also means that in our contract that asbestos, mold, lead gets to be removed from the school communities in which our students attend, because it has to be. It creates an opportunity for us to shift, to change, and to transform. We have used the strike in 12 and 16 and 19 to get to a place where we now have leadership in this city that has created opportunity for us to build the type of school district and city that all of our students deserve. So listen, in this moment, we talk about resistance. Let's build coalition. Let's create capacity, and let's not save America. Let's reconstruct America. If they think making America great again means pre-Civil War America, then we get to use the example of my ancestors and their power and their courage and their vision to create the reconstruction of America that stops deportations, that creates Medicaid for all, that creates our opportunity to live on an earth that isn't burning, that creates an opportunity for schools in every state and city and county to be fully funded. That is the reconstruction of the America that we belong to. And I submit to you, that is the call of action. Thank you so much for including me on this call tonight. And let's reconstruct our America.
Thank you, President Davis Gates. It's, like I said, such an honor to have you here. And I feel like the Chicago Teachers Union has been such a bright, shining light for all of us in the last few years. So if you're ready to join millions of young people and workers on May 1st, 2028, and leading up to it in the streets to actually force an end to the oligarchy and to save our futures from climate catastrophe, we are going to drop that strike card in the chat again. And I'm also going to, I know there are people watching at watch parties. I know there are people like on YouTube. The link is smvmt.org/strike card. And I think we have, okay, yes, we have like 372 people on this call right now, and many more people watching at home in their watch parties across the country. So let's see how many signups we can actually get into. I will see how many I'll try and check how many signups we have. Drop a star in the chat once you filled it out. And I'm going to start answering a few of the questions that are coming up too as people are filling it out. Okay, I see Corey's filled it out, Mel. A bunch of people in Pittsburgh filled it out. Hey, how long, why Okay, let's see. Why are we waiting till 2028? It's because it takes an immense amount of organizing pressure to build up to a mass society-wide strike. That's not saying we're not taking mass direct action before then. We needed to be doing it all the way leading up to it over and over and over again. But that's why we picked that date. If you've previously filled it out, yeah, fill out this one, because then that's also how we can reach you about organizing opportunities and help see how many people were contributing. So there's many ways. I see people be like, what if I work in a sector that doesn't make sense to strike? What if I'm disabled? There's many, many ways to engage in like mass non-cooperation. So for many people, that might mean striking. It might mean leaving your school, but it also might mean taking part in like mass direct action as part of our movements. So fill out the card anyway. It might look in ways that are different from just striking from work.
But yeah, I guess.
Amazing. I'm seeing those stars just rolling in. I'm loving seeing how many people are filling it out. I'm going to spend a little bit more time. We're going to check back on how many people have actually filled out the strike card at the end of the call. But I want to spend a little bit more time talking about how we actually get to this vision. So we have a 3-part plan over the next few years of what we think it's going to take to actually be able to topple this oligarchy and win mass climate legislation. And it starts right now in 2025 and 2026. The first step is to win the public, because right now the truth is we don't have nearly enough people on our side to be able to actually execute mass non-cooperation. The second step is that we're going to be toppling the pillars. What does that mean? We talk about oligarchy, and oligarchy tends to be propped up by ordinary people. So we're saying that we're going to use mass direct action to topple the pillars that hold up our oligarchy. And then phase 3 is to bring it home. We're going to force mass democratic reform so that we're actually able to pass the amount of legislation that we need in order to save our futures. So that's the 3-part plan. And the first step to doing that is actually being able to run something called a Make Polluters Pay campaign. Can you drop a star in the chat if you've heard about this campaign already? Oh, I just asked. Okay, a lot of people. Yes, we're running one here in Minnesota. I know California is running one. It's an exciting campaign. We voted on this campaign this spring to make it a national priority, and a bunch of hubs have already been working on it. And we believe this is really powerful because it's a tangible, popular campaign to go after big oil's power and deliver for working people. And why are we going after big oil? Big oil is one of the biggest funders of Trump, and we believe that climate could be an Achilles heel for Trump. And we've actually already seen huge victories in this campaign. New York and Vermont have passed climate superfund bills to make big oil pay billions of dollars, and already hubs across the country have started winning resolutions. This idea isn't new. In 1980, Congress passed this bipartisan legislation called the Superfund Law, or CERCLA, which created a fund and program to make polluters pay for the cleanup of sites where they release large amounts of hazardous substances and waste. And now scientists are basically able to apply the same basic principle around it. It's the principle we learned in kindergarten, right? Like you make the mess, you clean it up, to the climate crisis through attribution science. And what that really means is that we are finally able to actually blame polluters for the role that they play in screwing over our communities. And that's really important because right now we're the ones footing the bill and they should be the ones footing the bill. And this is really popular too. 71% of voters, including a majority of Republicans, supporting requiring oil and gas companies to pay a share of costs for climate damages. That's huge. And I was talking to one of our Orlando Hub members recently about how he had a conversation with a Trump supporting woman literally wearing a Doge hat, and they got to talking about the Make Polluters Pay campaign, and she was like, hell yeah, you're totally right. These companies should be cleaning up after themselves. So basically, here's how the legislation works. States identify top oil and gas companies who operate in their state. They calculate the climate damage costs that are hitting their state. So maybe it's about hurricanes, maybe it's about fire costs. And then they assign the payment share based on the emissions of each company. States then collect all the funds and they invest in resilience with justice guarantees built into the payments. These funds are then dedicated to things that are meant to stop and respond to the climate crisis. Things like upgrading public housing to be climate resilient. Things like retrofitting our schools and our hospitals and our senior centers. Things like wildfire protection and flood defense and having like microgrids and power backups so all of those things. I'd love people to drop in the chat, what Are you excited to make polluters pay for it in your community? Okay, I'm seeing this rolling in. Rebuilding, oh, it's going too fast. Fire prevention, fire damage, green energy in cooler cities. Yes. It is actually ridiculous that big oil has spent decades lying about the climate crisis, lying about who is at fault, and then expecting us to foot the bill. This is what we are changing. And while we do that, we will be weakening a critical pillar of Trump's oligarchy so that we can topple it and we can win people back to our side. All right, we can go to the next slide, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're trying to achieve in this campaign. So the goal here is to really villainize big oil for profiting off the climate crisis so that we can weaken Trump's oligarchy, like I was talking about. And we're going to do that by winning local resolutions and statewide legislation that actually makes big oil pay. And as we do that, we're bringing more and more people into our vision of what the world could look like. As we'll also be building our base so that we're bringing in young people across race and class to build towards mass strikes. And we'll be laying the groundwork to win future federal polluters pay legislation. And it's specifically with the federal piece, we're going to be making sure that every time there is a climate disaster, we strike Trump where it hurts most. Authoritarians tend to fall in issues of corruption and infrastructure failure. When climate disasters hit, that is a critical point of weakness for Donald Trump. And when we're here with our Polluters Pay campaign, we'll force him to show the public which side he's truly on. I'm loving the chat still coming in on what else polluters should pay for. Obsessed. Okay, so the first step for most of this in most places is to actually organize in your community to pass a resolution through your city council or school board or student government in support of polluters pay. This is a great way to get the message out to your community, to grow your base, and to really publicly show that your town or city is behind this policy. And I said this already, but I really want to shout out the Sunrise hubs that have already passed this. Sunrise Smith, Sunrise Woolwich, and if you are in a hub already, you should join our June 24th campaign planning workshop. I don't know if you guys can see all the people on our watch party. We're going to join the workshop. And if you're not in a hub, if you're just watching this, our New Hubs program is going to help you learn how to run this campaign. So you can go to smvmt.org/start-hub, and you can learn how to actually start a hub wherever you are. So those are the two links that I'm going to point people to join. This is how we actually run this in our communities. And you'll get a guide laying out all the steps you need to take. We'll have the workshop. We'll give you all the support you need. And we are trying to get hundreds of these resolutions passed around the country to build a wave of momentum behind making polluters pay. So if you're ready to get going, fill out these forms. The moderators are going to drop them one more time. And maybe this time put an exclamation point in when you have filled out one of the forms. I'm going to give it a second so I can get a few exclamation points. What are the next rounds? When are the next rounds? We are starting the next rounds of the New Hubs program. Ooh, I don't remember off the top of my head. I wonder if anyone else knows in the chat. June 30th. Great, thank you. Okay, I'm amazed. I see a few of these exclamation points coming in. Come to the workshop or sign up to start a new hub. I truly believe that if hundreds of us are passing these resolutions and winning state legislation, we can weaken big oil, and that will weaken Donald Trump. Big oil was like 7 of Trump's top 10 biggest donors last election cycle. They donate millions and millions of dollars to his campaign. Taking them out is a way that we weaken this oligarchy. I want to pass it to two people who have been leading really powerful polluters pay campaigns, and they'll be sharing some of what this actually looks like on the ground and what they've learned. Piano, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Aru. It's such an honor to be on the call with over 400 organizers from across the country, either joining in on the call and watch parties across the country or on a live stream. My name is Keanu Arpels Josiah. I am a 19-year-old organizer with Fridays for Future NYC, and I'm calling in from Lenapehoking. where we're about to elect a new mayor in 7 days. So very exciting times here for the climate movement. And I was just looking at the forecast for election day next week, where volunteers from across Sunrise NYC are going to be out across the city, and it's supposed to be over 100 degrees. That's not normal in New York City. This is the climate crisis that we're seeing and we're talking about, and we're seeing it every day. I feel like as organizers, something that we say again and again is this is the hottest summer on record, and it's going to be the coolest one for the rest of our generation's lives. And that's why it was so significant we were able to finally pass the Climate Superfund Act in New York State last year. This is a moment where we actually won something. We're now fossil fuel companies in New York State are on track to pay over $75 billion for the damages they've caused to our communities, for these exorbitant heats, where the heat we're seeing get higher and higher and higher year after year, for flooding we're seeing again and again and again. And as Aru underscored, why this is so important is because, this is about pointing out who is responsible for this. For far too long, us as young people, us as individuals have been blamed for the climate crisis, looking at the carbon footprint, which was created by British Petroleum, right? Looking at so much of the mainstream discourse around the climate crisis, and Climate Superfund Acts, Make Polluters Pay campaigns are the way we make the fossil fuel industry pay their fair share. It's the way that we call them out for the damage they're causing to our communities. So how did we win a Climate Superfund Act here in New York State? I'm going to go into a bit about the campaign work around here, and you'll see some of the pictures here from last year up in Albany at our state capitol. We had over 50 young people join in buses from across the state to come out to the Capitol. And you'll see not just young people, young, old, people of all generations come out and call for the Climate Superfund Act at the last days of session here in New York State last year. And this was really the result of over 5 years of organizing from a broad coalition of hundreds of groups, hundreds of individuals, thousands of individuals. It follows the March to End Fossil Fuels in 2023. And I know lots of folks were out in New York City for the big March to End Fossil Fuels in 2023. Put a star if you were there in the chat. That march, I don't think we would have been able to get Climate Superfund done without that march. So all the organizing we're doing builds on each other. All the organizing we're doing here in New York, builds on organizing that's happening in California. All the organizing that's happening in California builds on organizing that's happening around the globe. The climate crisis and the climate movement is truly global. So it's so important that we pair, this kind of broader understanding of what the fight we're a part of is with real strategy. And how did we get Climate Superfund Act done in New York? It was through a really crystal clear strategy. So that started with those 5+ years of organizing around the bill in New York State. It started with, broader organizing around the climate crisis throughout New York State. It started with, having conversations with legislators year after year. It started by, electing legislators who would put climate and action like Make Polluters Pay at the center of their political campaigns, right? So I think it's so important. And one of the big lessons of kind of the organizing around Make Polluters Pay was we need to include climate both inside and outside of our political system. We need to be organizing both inside and outside of our political system and be talking about this in every space possible. So after 3 years of organizing around Make Polluters Pay, after a big action up in Albany on 3 a.m. on the final day of the legislative session, the state assembly finally passed the Climate Superfund Act. It was the only piece of climate legislation they passed that entire year. So it wasn't even what we were fighting for in total, but it's a massive win. It's the biggest piece of Make Polluters Pay legislation in the country. And it took another 8 months of organizing to get the governor to sign the bill, right? If we go to the next slide, we'll see another big die-in action up in Albany where over 13 elders got arrested in the state capitol in December when the state legislature is not even in session, calling on Governor Hochul to sign the bill. And this was a really beautiful day. And I think this brings us to this kind of broader understanding of, we need to push forward this legislation both within political systems, and we need to have a clear vision. We need to have a coalitional strategy. We need to understand that the Climate Superfund Act, which is now starting to create, heating centers in the winter, cooling centers in the summer, which is now starting to fund water infrastructure across the state, which is starting to fund climate resiliency projects that are so critical. We need to understand that that was made possible by an understanding that the climate crisis is a health issue, by an understanding that the climate crisis is a labor issue. And this is an understanding we need to bring to our organizing when it comes to something like school strikes. Also, we need to understand how cross-sectional the climate crisis is. I think that is another key lesson from this. And we need to understand, we can't just wait to act. We have to have the specificity of bringing people together within whatever system it is. So whether it starts with organizing in schools, whether it starts in organizing in a workplace, right? In New York City, we have a network of over 20 high schools that are a part of Fridays for Future NYC that come out to Albany on a regular basis, right? And that starts by just having conversations. It starts by making clubs. It starts by picking a regular date to meet. It starts by, talking with classmates, talking with teachers, right? And eventually that can catalyze into consistent calls to legislators, into literal legislation passed, right? And that's something that we all need to look at where we are, look at what world, what system, what community we have to organize, and put that first step forward. And that's how we can pass legislation like Climate Superfund. So yeah, thank you again so much for having me on, and I'll pass it back to Aru now.
Thank you, Keanu. That's a powerful example of what MPP fighting can do in a state like New York, and excited to see wins coming across the country. I next want to hand it to Nico from Sunrise Movement LA to talk about the great organizing he's doing on the ground. Take it away, Nico.
Thank you so much, Kitas. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicholas, but you can call me Nico. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm an organizer with the Sunrise Movement in Los Angeles on occupied Tongva land. And I don't think it's, any secret that Los Angeles has had an incredibly difficult year, and it's June. So if you're here from Los Angeles, or if you're here from across California, know that I am with you. We're in this together. And even in just like the last few months, starting with the wildfires at the beginning of the year, thousands of people have lost their homes, have still been displaced, have lost absolutely everything. People across the city are being separated, snatched off the streets by ICE agents. And, what does this president do, right? He blames and targets unhoused people, immigrants, queer and trans people, and people of color. He is abandoning us and dismantling social infrastructure like Social Security, like Medicare, like FEMA, so that corporations can make more and more money off of our suffering. And let's compare that actually to how the people in Los Angeles and people across the country are reacting in this moment of crisis. We're there for one another. We are taking care of one another. Here in LA, folks have been taking in those impacted by the raids or by the fires. People have come together to clean up toxic debris, to house displaced loved ones, and to protect folks from draconian immigration activity. Over the last few weeks, tens of thousands of people have come out to stand up against the cruelty of the Trump administration and the federal occupation of Los Angeles. And this has been going on. Los Angeles is a very proud tradition of resistance and fighting back against fascism. At the beginning of the year, right after the wildfires, Sunrise LA, partnership with, of course, the national organization with the solidarity of our entire movement, staged a 5-day sit-in outside of a Phillips 66 refinery in Carson, just in the larger Los Angeles area. And we wanted to send a very clear message that the reason why these fires were so intense, why so many people were impacted, is because of the decades-long practice of fossil fuel corporations to keep drilling, to keep extracting, even at the cost of our communities. They knew that this would cause the climate crisis. So we wanted to say, like, hey, the folks who caused this exist. They keep making these decisions, and we need them to pay for the harm that they've caused to our communities. They need to give us the money to not only rebuild, but to build a greener and more just future. And it was an incredible action. We had, legislators and celebrities, and we had a comedy show at one point, and it was just such a celebration of what makes LA so special and what makes us so resilient. But honestly, what touched me the most was the response just from the community. Truck drivers coming out of the refinery were honking nonstop. It became a problem because folks were trying to sleep at some point. People who were living in the area were dropping off food and giving us advice. Our unhoused neighbors and our unhoused brothers and sisters were coming by to give up to be in community with us and talk with us. And it was just like such a beautiful moment of just like what it means to be there for one another and what it means to have solidarity with one another. And that's what makes us strong. The power of direct action is in shifting the narrative and getting people to talk about who is really responsible, because we know who is responsible for the climate crisis, and to activate more and more people into your movement, into action. Trump is, going into overdrive to make this something that he can fight about on TV, to make it a culture war issue, because he's scared of the power that we have when we organize and when we fight together, when we act on our solidarity. And he knows, and the billionaires know that we're sick and tired. People are sick and tired of living in a system that puts profit before people, and they know that folks want something different. So they're scared. Just ground yourselves in that moment that the power that LA and folks across the country have been building in New York, everywhere, has the Trump administration scared, and that's why you see these such dramatic actions. So unfortunately, earlier last year, it was our brothers and sisters in Appalachia that were impacted by a natural disaster. Early in the year, it was us in Los Angeles, but this is something that unfortunately will continue to happen. God willing, it never happens to anyone here. But taking action around climate disasters is a powerful way to call the question on our leaders, on society, to say, what side are you on? Are you going to stand with the people? Are you going to stand with young people? Are you going to stand for justice? Or are you going to continue to let this happen and let the polluters get away with the damage that they've caused? If God forbid, this ever happens to you, seize on that moment. Like Aru mentioned, those are moments of real weakness for the Trump administration. The trick is to stay clear-headed, to be strategic, and to use the power of that moment to send an incredibly direct message to the entire nation, because the nation will be paying attention about what is going on, who is to blame, and what is the path forward. Stage actions that are direct, that are clear, and most importantly, that build organization, build leaders, build structure so that you can keep doing it, because we're just going to have to keep going at it. This is a multi-year plan to fight for our rights and for our freedoms. And we have to kind of build the capacity to keep going. And that's something that we have been very encouraged by in Los Angeles. Organizing is the art of turning the impossible into reality, right? It's the art of transformation. And the momentum from our action in January has helped us win some really serious victories. We are part of a massive coalition across the state to make polluters pay, to pass legislation that was won in New York and in Vermont. And we're meeting with legislators. We're participating in actions. We are building power from the ground up. Here in Los Angeles, we've passed legislation to protect folks who live near oil operations, to protect public health. We helped protect climate funding in the Los Angeles city budget that was going to be cut. And of course, we're showing up to protect our neighbors who are being targeted by the administration. So, the power that we're building will be unstoppable. The power of solidarity is incredible. And if there's just one parting message, just know that we are stronger together, that our solidarity makes us powerful. And then when we fight, we win. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's truly an honor to be in this call. And I'll hand it back to you, Ketis.
Thank you, Nico, and thank you for all your great organizing. I want to take the next moment to hand it to Representative Ro Khanna to talk about Sunrise and the critical organizing we're doing at this time. Rep, are you ready?
I am. Well, I'm so grateful, Arut, and to Stevie for your leadership, and to Sunrise's leadership. And kiddos, thank you for your vision. Look, we're at a critical moment right now around this country. I mean, just today, I was just on before this on MSNBC, CNN, talking about a war powers resolution so we don't go into war in Iran. It is crazy after the Iraq war after what's happening in Gaza that we are thinking of going and having another war in the Middle East. You say, how does this relate to the environment? A war in the Middle East would be disastrous for climate, but it's also disastrous for human rights. And I called out Senator Schumer, who has been totally ambiguous, not willing to support these war power resolutions in standing up against this war. We need a Democratic Party that's going to be anti-war, that aligns with Bernie Sanders and Tim Kaine and myself, and calls for a vote to block Trump from going into Iran. I mean, Trump stole the anti-war platform from us. He stole it in terms of criticizing what was going on in Gaza. This is the time the Democratic Party has to show some spine, has to stand up to Trump with a singular voice, and we need our leadership doing that. And you are the grassroots base that are fighting. You're the fighting spirit, the next generation of our party. I know you've been inspired in part by Bernie with your tour called Fight the Oligarchy, Save Our Future. And isn't it amazing what Bernie is doing? Is still across the country in standing up against the billionaire class that's getting tax breaks. Tax breaks while they're taking away food assistance from people in this country, while they're taking away Medicaid and healthcare from 90 million Americans, 13 million people losing health insurance. That's just wrong. And you've been taking on big oil. You know, one of the best things I did was chair a hearing where we had all the big oil CEOs, and they admitted that they've lied to the American people. They've admitted that they knew that burning fossil fuels causes climate change. In the 1970s, they could have diversified their companies 1% every year into solar, into wind, into geothermal, but they didn't. And that's why we're in the place we are today. You have the guts to stand up to big oil. You have the guts to say we don't want fossil fuel subsidies. You have the guts to say that, no, we're not going to build more export terminals for fossil fuels in this country. We're not going to have the Willow Project. We need climate as an emergency. I mean, can you imagine that we didn't declare climate as an emergency when we had the White House? First thing Donald Trump does is declare the border as an emergency. The next Democratic president better declare climate as an emergency. We better actually fight fossil fuel subsidies. We better stand up to big oil's misinformation campaign for decades and hold them accountable for lying to the American people. And that is what you are doing. You are the heart and soul of our progressive movement. And I saw also what your marches on Gaza. Yeah, I mean, Sunrise for so long was talking about the human conditions of women and children in Gaza. And I said, how inspiring that you recognize how all of these things are interconnected, how caring for the planet is interconnected to caring for human beings, is it interconnected to making sure people have health care. It's interconnected to making sure that we're taxing people who are making billions of dollars fairly. And what you're fighting for is a new vision for our nation, for our world, grounded in deep humanism, grounded in a deep respect and love for the world in which we live. It is a moral vision, a vision where politics isn't just about power. Politics isn't about money. Politics is about trying to make a better life for people, for the world, for the planet. You can build that. We need you. This is the time we need you. The country is exhausted. It's embarrassed. It's sick of these wars. It's sick of all the big money. It's looking for something new, something fresh, a better way. And Sunrise, that's what you're providing. So I am so proud of you, so proud of your fight, so proud of your idealism, so proud of your vision. I'm just grateful to partner with you as you do this around the country. And we're doing town halls across the country. Let's partner. Let's stand up for our planet. Let's make sure we declare the climate crisis an emergency. Let's make sure we get rid of these fossil fuel subsidies. Let's make sure we're taxing the billionaires the way they should be taxed. Let's say no to foreign wars, and let's build a better America with a true progressive era, the type of politics Bernie Sanders inspired us in 2016 and 2020. Thank you, Sunrise.
Thank you so much, Representative Ro Khanna. So excited to have you in this fight and excited to see you keep fighting for working class people across this country. And excited to see you continuously throughout time.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, for the next tidbit, we're supposed to have another speaker. You might know her from Hacks on HBO, Hannah Einbinder. Sadly, she had a last minute conflict and could not make this call. But maybe she'll make another one. Shout out to our queer icon. She's bi, I think. Lovely for that. Want us to move a little bit forward into all the great conversation we've been having. I want to do a little shift in tone and energy. Tonight, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about how to remove wannabe dictators, how big oil is playing a critical role in propping up authoritarianism, the role of make polluters pay to build the future we all deserve. But I want to pull us one level deeper, and I want us to all just do something collectively together. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Yep, you heard that right. Whether you're at a watch party at a bar or in your bedroom, take a quick moment to just close your eyes and visualize with me. Imagine it's April 2026. Young people in Illinois, California, and Tennessee have gone on strike from school and work and occupied their schools, town halls, and state houses. Back in August, after a major hurricane slammed into Florida, sunrisers in Orlando and Miami were able to make polluters pay, the top news story. Videos of young, brave sunrisers confronting Governor Newsom, Pritzker, Lee, DeSantis, and others have gone viral. 5 more states are on the precipice of passing climate superfund laws. Big oil and the Trump administration are freaking out, bringing new lawsuits every day trying to protect oil and gas companies. Trump even put on a corny oil saves lives rally in Texas that the internet roasted him for. You yourself have spent the past 8 months recruiting hundreds of people into your hub, training them on our strategy, and taking action together. And despite all the evil shit coming out of every day from the Trump admin, the ICE kidnappings, the tax cuts for billionaires, the jailing of political opponents, you feel you have some agency in it all. You are a part of a powerful and growing movement. You've learned skills and done things you never thought you'd be capable of, and you once again feel in your bones that winning is possible. You are in a movement of thousands of people across race and class, trying in small and big ways to win the future they know they deserve. A future that big oil wants to steal from you that they can't stop. A future that you and I can win together if we take action together and continue building. And so, I want you to take a moment and open your eyes. And I would love if you put an exclamation mark in the chat if you're ready to make polluters fucking pay. Let's see them. Love it, love it. That's what we wanted to see. Fantastic. Okay, they're coming in, still coming in. Beautiful. Okay. As the exclamation marks come in, I want to remind you of some of the clear steps that we together, both as individuals and groups of people, need to do to make it happen. Now, if you're already a member of a Sunrise Hub, I want you to come to the campaign planning workshop on June 24th at 8 p.m. ET. I want you to bring your fellow hub members, whether it's your hub coordinator, your core team, someone who's new to the hub, and learn how to launch your local resolution campaign. You're going to find the link in the chat right about now. And if you're not in a hub, I want you to sign up to start a hub with us. We're going to have our first round of conversations on June 30th. And so take a hot minute to either sign up for the workshop if you're a member of a hub and bring all your hub mates to that conversation next week, or sign up to start a hub. Now, I'm gonna give you like a little second to do that. I want to give you a little space to, fill out those forms, turn those exclamation marks into filled out forms to turn them into organizing projects. And as that's happening, I want to pass it to Aru to keep chatting us up.
Thanks. My watch party is now going on. So can you guys hear me still okay? Is this good? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much, Kiedis, and thank you to all the speakers. I've been reflecting a lot on this political moment that we are in and what it means to be living through such unprecedented times, like what it means when Like I said, our politicians are getting shot, our families are getting separated, our homes are getting sieged by fires and floods every day, and there are these billionaires who don't care, our political system who is not built for us. And the thing that makes me still feel hopeful is just like how much I have seen in Sunrise and out of Sunrise, that you should never underestimate the power of ordinary people to transform the world. Sunrise started during the first Trump administration, and we were campaigning for climate legislation. Everyone called us naive. They told us we'd never win. And we didn't believe them. We didn't take no for an answer. And I saw over and over and over again, young people have the courage to not take no for an answer because we believe in what is necessary, because we are not yet bound by what people tell us is possible. So I am going to keep asking you to sign up for this campaign workshop to start a hub. I think we have 98 people signed up for the campaign workshop right now, which is incredible. I think we have around 270 people signed up on that strike card, which is almost everyone on this call. Maybe we can get it past the number of people on this call as people on watch parties and everything fill it out. But I say this because whatever this moment is unprecedented, and whatever you thought you would be doing, whatever you think you can do, this is the time to take one step further. Maybe you're like, I missed my hub, and maybe it's time for me to start a new hub and it's scary. I saw someone say this in the chat. I'm like, this is the time to do that. Maybe you're like, I'm not an activist, like that's for someone else. I'm like, this is the time to take the leap of faith and start organizing with people around you. The only way we're going to get out of this is if millions of us over and over again choose solidarity over division, choose hope over fear, choose acting over being paralyzed on home alone on our phones. That's what's going to get us out of this if enough of us choose to make that choice. Because yeah, fear is contagious, but so is courage. That's what we're doing here. We're lighting little sparks of courage that will touch many, many other people. And I'm starting to see some of these questions come in. How do we know where the hub location is? If you're in Chicago, let's see, could someone in Chicago, I know there's some Chicago people on this call. Could someone in Chicago people tell Olivia how to get involved in the hub? Part of the KC hub, so it's not close. Maybe you could start a St. Louis hub. Springfield, you could always start a Springfield hub. I'm loving this exchange. Yeah, join hubs near you, start a hub if you don't need to. That link, smvmt.org/start-hub. We are in a pivotal moment in US and world history, and we have the privilege and the responsibility of living in a moment that will change history for decades, maybe no, centuries to come. Okay, I'm going to share 2 last ways to join the fight. If you've already signed the strike card and you've already signed up for the workshop, or maybe started a new hub. One is to become a member or a supporter. Members are the backbone of our movement. We ask anyone who's able to contribute monthly. I contribute monthly, even if it's just $5 to help fund our movement's work. This is what keeps us funded by the people. And we would also love it if you're over 35, we're a youth movement, but if you're over 35 to come join us as a supporter, it's smvmt.org/supporter. And then 2, really critically, if you're like, this was great, but I saw somebody ask in the chat, like, are we going to get support to do this? Come to our trainings, smvmt.org. You're going to memorize this by the end of this call. smvmt.org/training. And we're hosting these incredible trainings across the country this summer. You should sign up for one. We're finalizing all the locations and exact dates, but it's an interest form, and it will be really, I find our trainings to be like transformative experiences. So go ahead, click that link. Is it trainings, smvm.org/trainings. Click that link and fill it out. Oh, I'm seeing some 10 out of 10 trainings can attest. What about for folks who are over 70 with 50+ years of activism? Support your local hub and be a supporter. We love that. Okay, and I see those links running in, and these trainings will be day long. The first one is going to be in Chicago in July. There's going to be one on the West Coast, the South, the Northeast, and we'll always have ways to join online as well. Okay, I'm seeing those numbers keep going up. I'm going to pass it to Ketis to close us out. And I am honored to be on this call with you all.
Thanks, Saru. Okay, guys. Saru said it better than I could. We're living in pretty incredibly turbulent and scary times. I know some days I wake up and just feel overwhelmed by sadness, fear, and despair. But what grounds me is that there's a silver lining to that turbulence. We live in a time of huge possibilities and change. It's up to what people like you and I do in the coming year to determine which way it goes. Do we make these dreams of young people a reality, or does big oil billionaires and fascists get to destroy the planet and lock up our communities? In some ways, there's this quote in one of our trainings that if you sign up for, you can see, which is the next couple of years will determine life on this planet for the next couple thousand. And I feel like it's a quote I need to wake up with every morning to keep my feet on the ground and to continue organizing. And so I feel honored to be alive in this moment and be working with you all to make our dreams and the dreams of working people, of Black and Brown people, of migrants, of trans people around this country a reality. And so I want to drop all of the links that you saw before. And I want us to review, if you remember at the beginning of the call, we had that cute little moment with the selfies to see what our selfie situation is like. What are the vibes, who's around the country, that sort of a dealio. And as that is being prepared, I also just want to read our principle 11. So it has many principles, and they're all quite good. And this one is, we're full of determination, fire, and hope. And so as this happens, as our times are often dark and difficult, we know that sinking into despair is not an option. We choose to believe in ourselves and our movements and make space for light and love in our lives. Changing the world is a joyful and fulfilling process, and we let that show. And so, as we find that Kalulu, which is what the name of the app is, which could have been a cuter title, I don't know. Oh, here it is. That was me buying time. Look at all our faces. Wow, a little slideshow action. Okay, Tao, I see you. People everywhere. Long Beach in the house. Fantastic. Oh, solid seating in that last photo. Jared in Boston making it happen. Okay, Allison with the cat. Love to see it. Comms Queen. Tarrant in the movement house. We see our people. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, as we see these photos coming in, okay, gardening while watching, loving it. I want to remind us again that all the links are in the chat. Winning, did someone upload a photo of me? That's crazy. Want to remind us that this won't happen without you. It will take thousands, if not millions of people doing small and big things to get rid of that person in the White House, and to win all the big climate wins we know we deserve. And so as that music turns on in the background, oh, hi, Corey. I want to remind you to click those links. I want you to sign up on that strike card and put it on your socials, okay? As well as sign up for the trainings and all the resources coming your way. Thank you, and I hope you have a lovely night.
Thank you all for coming. We're gonna win big things together.
This is great. I want to be a radio host. Next stream, post screen you deal with.